In 2014, the developers at Future Cat would release a game that would shatter storytelling as we know it. Being outstanding but seemingly unheard of, but has a catch. You only have one try. Grab your journal for we're about to deep dive in the world of Oneshot. So this covers it all for you in an easy consume video, or for those who didn't want to play but still wants to know what happened. Gameplay, level, story and lore, and so much more. Let's dive in. The main menu really sets the tone for the journey we're about to embark on, basically having flashbacks to Halo Combat Evolved. It's giving you this ominous, uninviting vibe, but has a lot of mystery and loneliness to it as well. Which is different from most games which have this maxed volume, energy hyping music, getting me really excited for the main menu when all I'm doing is fiddling with the settings. Oh hell yeah, turn that bad boy to 1080p! But with this barebone menu, it's only rivaled by Pong with how little there is here. Now enough about the main menu because this will be the last we see of it anyway. Waking up in a strange new place that we have been whisked into. Throughout your journey, you'll be connected to this character before you, called Nico. After exploring this terrible state of an average Reddit user room, right away we run into our very first puzzle. I had no idea what to really do. After interacting with everything, the only thing working was the computer, but that required a password. What I needed to do was hold out the remote to light up the sequence on the number pad, which, having to confess, it took me a ridiculous amount of time to solve in the first place. Anyway, time to open the computer. Then something pops up informing us of the rules of the game. Things like how the world is not worth saving and how our actions will affect Nico, who is the character. Then this caught me off guard, a pop-up. This is a physical pop-up outside of a game with my first and last name. By clicking OK, this activates the termination function which will cause the game to lock. You only have one shot, which is a really unique mechanic. If you by any means fail, that's it, permadeath, giving you stakes for even if you just close the game. Or if the power goes out, that's it, you can't play the game anymore. You have to do the entire thing in one go, on the first try, leaving many people sleeping next to the computer with the tab still open. With this one try tension, it makes you feel that every decision you make has an affecting weight behind it. It can't just be undone by loading the quick save. But for those still sitting there confused, having no idea what I'm even talking about, there's actually two versions of the game. There's the original game that was only made in a single month by 2 people, which was submitted for an indie games making contest back in 2014, being the permadeath one I was formerly covering. The creators of Oneshot could see more for their creation, so were hard at work to create another. And when this version came to Steam a few years later on 2016, it had so much more to tell. Not only that, it had noticeable polished visuals, and moving the engine from 2003 version of RPG Maker to XP, and with many more changes which were overwhelmingly welcomed, giving us a finished version on 2017. Now having to pay for the game, limiting your playability would have to be ditched. For obvious reasons, the main mechanic of the game being the literal name of the game, Oneshot, was sadly left behind, which was a little annoying but understandable. Keeping such a harsh game rule that would only appeal to a small player base would tarnish the game's perception. The warning at the start of the new version lost its meaning when you don't get any penalties for disregarding it. The impact of the story was only as good as the concept after all. But shockingly enough, somehow they managed to save it with their new direction. I'll say more on it in due time. So the main focus will be on the Steam version. If you've played the original, playing this updated version is a real treat. And for those who are iffy for paying for a game that was once free, let me put it this way, you're getting longer replayability, with the updated visuals and supporting the small creator for only the price of a burger. Also, this version of the game, most of the Easter eggs sadly had to be removed. For example, the homage reference on the desktop, which is understandable. Not having the rights to any of them could end up messy in the commercial world. If you still want to play the original version, you can find it on the RPG Maker website. Alright, enough of the history lesson, back to the game. Now, with the new direction taken for this version, Nico wakes up in a strange new world, but differently comes in contact with the entity. With the entity connecting us through Nico, we're able to help guide him on the journey. You must be careful because anything you do will have a fundamental effect on Nico itself. Nico is a small child, leaving what is ambiguous with its gender, allowing us to see Nico as whatever we want him to be, and there is no right answers. But whether or not them actually being a cat is a running joke within the fandom, I've seen people spend way too much of their life debating so. The entity also lays down the rules of the game, and keeps me on my toes by straight up doxing me. I mean, it said my real world name. I was shocked. I googled what on earth happened to understand if I got some sort of malware. I swear the only reason Microsoft keeps adding that get username function into Windows API is so that the smug indie developers can use it to break the fourth wall. While exploring the environment and walking down seemingly hundreds of steps, he comes into contact with this light bulb also known as the sun, which is the current iteration of the last sun, which pretty much destroyed the last world itself. Happy music plays when Nico picks up the sun, lighting things up, making it less gloomy, as if celebrating or hope. More brightful and light is the most important thing in this game. From the first few puzzles we understand light is a really important thing. Light helped us see the code on a remote, and see the basement key to get the sun. And also it's going to unlock this prison door thing. Passing through the door, you end up on the other side. Wow, that's almost like what doors do. I was more referring to this point on what happens to the game, just became heavily story driven. Once outside, the first thing we see is the citadel looking tower. We go from inside a cottage to what looks like the surface of the moon, also known as the Barrens. Finding robots left to rust, deserted all over the place in this dangerous, unwelcoming landscape. Remember, the first thing we see in the game is Nico waking up in this world. So Nico's guess is as good as ours at this point. Just waking up on a completely different planet from what Nico was originally from. After having to explore this luminous landscape, he comes into contact with the Prophet bot, telling both of us that Nico is the messiah of this dying world. This will be the first time we learn of her name, Nico. Repeating on the former, they're a child which is ambiguous and could take the form of anything you see them as. Most games you play as a character, like as Master Chief or whoever. You're essentially projecting yourself onto the character and become them. But here, you're also a character in the story. You interact with Nico in a strange way, almost praying to you, the inner voice guiding her, and will refer to you by your chosen name. Yes, you could inflate your ego and change your name to God. If you name yourself Nico, you make the poor creature look crazy, as if they're talking to themselves. Nico asks the robot or the name on the computer, well, my name, for the robot to respond, it's their god. Ask the player, we are the god over this domain. Once learning of our existence, Nico will casually turn to you to talk. Which leads me into the next segment on what Oneshot even is. Oneshot is a 2D role-playing puzzle game that is heavily story carried. The main focus on exploration of this new world and all its contents, but breaks the fourth wall and creates a sense of player immersion unlike any other game at the time. Yourself and Nico must traverse the environment to save the world on the blink of collapse. It's one of those games you'd think it would lose its magic. It's a little gimmick after a little bit, but that's not the case. I love it when games like this come out. Most games nowadays follow the same formula, which hey, if it ain't broke, why fix it? But games that try and venture out, games that try stand out, like this. It's either really good or whatever that thing of Night of the Living Sock is. Some of the puzzles are really damn clever, and will break the fourth wall in ways that I've never seen. Like one of the puzzles, it asks for a code that you would have to locate on the computer. So I tried going back to the desktop at the start, but had no way of getting back into it. Turns out they meant look on your actual computer for the hidden digits, making you have to think outside the box. I mean literally outside the box of the game window. I'm not saying it's perfect. We don't play Oneshot for its well thought out gameplay. We play for the characters, visuals and narrative, all being extremely charming, warming, welcoming and adorable. All that in mind, it does leave it to be a niched game to begin with. You're required to have some sort of computer literacy to even complete some of the challenges, which automatically makes the audience very small. Now, fourth wall breaking ain't something new. By all means, Metal Gear Solid did it basically a decade beforehand. And breaking the fourth wall is acknowledging the artificiality where the presenter and the audience are aware of it, just to clarify. Which leading to some of these game mechanics which I haven't seen anywhere beforehand when encountered. Oneshot is sometimes compared to Undertale in the sense that both games are completely excelled in what they're trying to do, and how they're conveyed in completely different stories and should be looked at as such. I couldn't help but smirk with most negative reviews of people complaining that it's not action driven and that it's not Undertale. Yeah, I don't think Nico running around murdering everyone would really fit the game. Back to the former point, the atmosphere and the music are really good at getting you into the mood quickly. And if you cared enough, the song titles do actually have meaning, but what game doesn't in this age? The game is about 7 hours long. To see all the aspects of the game, it should take around 9 hours. For me, it took a few days to finish it. Listen, you could follow a YouTube tutorial on how to complete all the puzzles and all the Easter eggs, but I wanted that tiny bit of dopamine and the satisfaction of solving it all on my own. It also means you get attached to the characters for your own interactions, which doesn't work when you're watching a walkthrough of someone else doing it, now does it?
Hello everybody, my name is Markiplier and welcome to Oneshot.
Which is kind of a massive part of this game. You have to get invested into these characters, and will determine if you love or get frustrated when you can't solve the first puzzle causing you to uninstall the game. Especially at the start, it can be very off-putting for newer players. You only know if it's worth the effort after you've already done it. One issue I did have is the camera being so far zoomed in, it's hard to visualize the terrain. It's fine if there's distinct features like water or buildings, but most of the time it's repeating simulator looking landmarks. Many NPCs inform you that even if you restore the sun, it's too far gone at this point. There's just a lot of bleakness in this world. And rightfully so, watching the world and the people around you slowly fall apart. The grim tone and darkness of giving up and loss of hope. The tower used to hold the last sun, and what Nico's holding is the replacement. When the sun went out, the world fell into darkness. But it is still holding on, barely, with the use of phosphor. Phosphor is a real element, unlike one my teacher insisted that was real being mithril. Anyway, phosphor emits light when radiated, and is used in LEDs, X-rays and so on. In this world, phosphor still emits light because it stored energy from the previous sun, and the only thing left to illuminate this world. He says when the last of the light dies, their world will too, giving warning to Nico that the bulb is fragile and they must deliver it. Pfft, good thing they didn't ask the delivery company. The building behind them has a lot of interesting things, mostly sheets of paper. How can sheets of paper be interesting? World building. There is a lot of information here and there. Reading this one seems to be the rules for the robots. Robots must not injure a human. Robots must obey orders. Robot must protect its own existence. It's just Isaac Asimov's laws of robotics. But we all know it was created from iRobot, and Isaac just stole it about 70 years earlier using a time machine. Other notes go on of unorthodox use of robot heads, and last year's incident was the destruction of the last sun. Did the world really fall into chaos in a single year? I hope this message wasn't written recently. Also coming across a generator that's not operational, but I would like to think this is what powered the robots after the sun went out. Though it does require a solar powered battery, so I don't think it would last long, maybe a few days at most. Toddling forward, we end up in the abandoned factory. So this is where all those robots were produced from, most likely. All is quiet except one of the machines is still ramming itself constantly. Wow, sounds like most programmers nowadays. Without anything to beat and to save our meat, we moved on. Riding around the dreary desert of dust, Nico comes across a robot called Silver, who was created to watch over the land. As a result of the sun in Nico's arms, Silver recognizes them as the Messiah, telling she must bring the sun to the tower to lift the world out of darkness, or at least maintain the stability of the current world. Honestly, I thought she was human, for it was not noticeable. Her grey skin could have been a result of sun deprivation. And when approached, that's the first thing she talks about. This will be the case for most of the entities. They fixate on the light bulb. Seemingly no one really cares about the lost wandering child. Unlike the hopeful prophet bot, this Silver must have lived on the internet since she wants the whole world to die. She believes the sun won't fix it, not change anything, for the world is just too far gone. But Nico can't, so the only logical conclusion is to do so anyway, since whoever brought us here wanted us to, telling Nico that if he makes it to the tower in time, he's allowed to go home. Silver supervises us whenever we enter the mines, probably hoping this kid doesn't fall into the underworld of Undertale. The mines were the first things abandoned when the sun went out due to the panic. Without maintenance, most of the mines have collapsed or very unstable at this time. Looking through all the discards, we obtain a broken camera. Returning to Silver's house, we find another glowing item, like back in the cottage. Discovering it to be a screwdriver, which you use to pop out the camera lens, which leaves you with just the lens. That's one thing about this game, everything is single-use items. For example, the screwdriver, you only use it once and then it dusts out of existence. Like, I understand, they did it for simplification, which is great. But I don't know, imagine having a water bottle and after taking a sip, it just disappears. After acquiring the lens, I had no idea what to do. Unlike most games, where you press an objective button and it lays a path for you to follow. So it's a bit disconcerting when I end up retreading ground. Stumbling across this section where breathing is not an option from all the toxic fumes in the air. Some might think this is the world boundaries, and yes, it very well could be, but I was determined there was a way. Eventually we work our way back to spawn, and there was a bed. Nico tells us she's tired from walking and needs a cat nap for not cats, obviously. I don't know why she's asking you about it, but now we have the most powerful ability to alter someone's sleep schedule. I just wish whoever's controlling my sleep schedule to please fix it. So I decided to be generous and allow Nico to sleep at a reasonable time. Now what happens when you're sleeping in the bed is the game closes out. Pondering this is a fascinating way to leave from the world. It's almost like a real and reasonable way for putting a placeholder. Nothing worse than in the middle of a boss fight for you to rejoin a few days later to get pounded on. But rebooting the game reveals it's also a story mechanic used to progress. Which is a little bit tedious, but I wouldn't have it any other way with how it all fits together in this world. When we relaunch the game, we find Nico in a wheat field. Filling our sight is the sun and vegetation which was all absent from another world. Nico looks around in confusion. I mean, I would too if every time I slept I'm whisked away to somewhere different. Nico admires the sun's embrace, accompanied with charming music. All this being cut short, now waking up in a gloomy, depressing world. Damn it, it was all a dream. Nico asks if he's still there, almost worried about being abandoned, still tightly holding the light of this land. You are the light for her, helping and giving them strength through all this. And if gone, would seriously affect Nico. Talking about what we just saw, Nico really thought she was back at home. Sadly in her case, only being a dream. Nico initially thinks you're from this world. As she describes her son not being a light bulb, but a ball of fire. We tell Nico that this isn't your world. If Nico's not from here, and you're not as well, then what magic brought us? Nico is shocked because she thought you were a native. This gives you an option to keep it a secret, or tell Nico more about your homeworld. I choose the latter because I'm not that untrusting. Nico decides to crack a joke. Earth? Like the stuff on the ground? Then asks if I live underground. I mean, it's not like it matters, I don't see the sun. I might as well be living in this gloomy world. Responding to Nico that I don't live underground and that I have a life because I touched grass once. Then the conversation sways to the sun. She tells us this because it's kinda special. Because we haven't seen the sun in so long. Strange how we take the most major things for granted. But something as crucial to our existence as the sun is no exception. Just imagine our world without a sun. Like it just disappeared right now. Our land would be worse than what we see here. Everything would freeze and the few remaining humans surviving on other means would die as the atmosphere would disappear. Or at least all oxygen would become desublimation. This all would have happened within a couple of decades. But humanity would have perished around the 1 year mark. We missed the whole going into the final winter of our world. Too bad we can't venture sunward to begin our own War of the Worlds. But this doesn't seem to be the case as this world hasn't become a winter wasteland. Even though we know it's been a few years since the incident, shows that this world doesn't follow the same rules as our own. Most forms of photosynthetic life has disappeared, leaving the land to these extremophiles. But that's not the main issue, us daywalkers need the sun as well. Creatures not obtaining their vitamin D, for D, resulting in disrupted body functions, such as halted calcium absorption, leading to illnesses, deformation and other undesirable suffering. Not only that, but all the robots we've come across so far run on solar radiation, so they're not exempt from the sun's absence. After talking about how similar our homeworlds are, catching my glance, there's a metal pipe here. Like I said, I would not have thought I needed to go back for a sleep just to progress the game. No hints or dialogue, there's no hand holding, and you have to figure it all out. Like, I was walking around the landscape for a lifetime trying to find something I missed, but it turns out to be this bed. Anyway, this useful tool, the metal pipe that you acquired, you insert it into the beating off machine to create this makeshift crowbar. Then with this you can open a special specific box. Remember this box? Yeah, me neither. And when opening it, we get a broken battery. Wow, how helpful. But wait, there's more. When combining it with this broken lens, it creates a empty battery. I don't know how that would work since the lens being too damaged to even be considered usable since it's classified as broken. I know, I shouldn't be upset that the real world logic doesn't always work in a world of sentient robots, light bulb suns, and cat people. Oh, pardon me, cat-like people. The universe likes to run on this path of explaining some things in depth, tying it into the real world, and quickly going over other things without explaining it. Some of these things you can't explain and wouldn't work in the real world, but you can actually charge the battery through the light bulb. Then all that's left is to insert the battery in its only possible place. Wow, I wonder what that did. So they weren't abandoned, they were just powered off. These ain't like the prof robots, you're not going to have a deep, meaningful conversation with them. Turning them off was an intentional thing, because they were acting crazy, rather than them running out of juice. Oh, remember the fourth wall breaking computer? Well look, it's back. What's the harm of checking it out now? Telling us the progress stops here. Bruh, what progress? I slammed the pipe and turned some potentially insane robots back on. Then hinting to a code to unlock some box, and it no longer exists in this world. Jump scaring asking if you know what this means. Buy document. Now if you didn't get the hint, it's to look through your actual computer folders. But choosing the I don't understand, it will then proceed to roast you like anyone unironically boasting about the IQ score. When you eventually find the file, as it's so scuffed, only bits of it being readable. I guess that's what you get for using a text file. Man, I should really stop using text files to write my scripts. Inserting the only thing remotely readable will unlock the box. Nico asks how we know of this, because she never remembered seeing anything like that. Confirming that Nico cannot see those pop-up messages. Alright, inside we find a book and a gas mask. I know exactly what this is for. But before leaving we're introduced to, some weird glitch. Righty, let's move on. In the toxic land, just a bit in, we find another robot facility. Hoping nobody's watching, using a crowbar, we now have access inside. Finding a bunch of robots just scattered about, and oh hey, a sponge. You might think you're just picking up useless things. They say in Fallout, you're not cleaning up the environment, picking up garbage while listening to 40s music. But every item you pick up is for the story. Exploring the rest of the area seems a lot more like a robot town, like the General Atomics Galleria, where we find some big iron golem sentinel thing, asking us why we're here. All humans should have been evacuated long ago. Which gives me some hope that Nico and some shrimp aren't the only living things left on this world. Now a little about the shrimp. Turns out the shrimp are used as an energy source here. We see them all over the place being used as lights. They contain a very important mineral to this world, being phosphor. They rely heavily on phosphor ever since the sun went out. Unfortunately, in these conditions, the shrimp don't live long in the jars. So the Iron Golem's job is to guard this town, and says he hasn't been tamed. I did not expect that. Every time I hear that word, I think of the little prince and the fox. We see the word tamed all over the game. Inside the building we find a heroin syringe, because that's going to be safe and sanitary, just left on the ground. Using the syringe, you're able to slurp up the contents from this bubble and inject it into the bottle, which creates a bottle of pond water. Next you're going to turn the bottle upside down and fill it up with gas, pouring out all the contents already inside, causing you to have to repeat the first step again. And magic, you have a bottle of acid. With this miracle patented formula, you're able to turn that rusty disabled boat robot and make it factory new. Wow, it's just that easy. Just give it a little rub and your little friend is up and ready to go. Sexual harassment unrequired. So the robot's all cleaned up now, with some homemade acid that somehow didn't damage him. Showing gratitude, he wants to take you somewhere. And the closest place he can drop Nico off is the town called Glen, but can't since his navigation system is broken. Because of course it is. Not only do you have to be Walter White creating concoctions with questionable results, but we also have to carry around and fix robot parts. Bro, this is a child, not Gizmo. At this point, why don't I make an entirely new robot while I'm at it? Or go steal one from one of the offline robots in the warehouse. For this, I have to talk to the gloomy girl again, which was painlessly straightforward. I was expecting some mission to mission like in Fallout New Vegas. The item Silver gives us is a necklace charm, being a clover. I mean, it doesn't look like what I asked for, but okay. Showing it to the robot recognizes it as the amber from Glen, and can now remember how to get there. So this really is a magical necklace. I wish it worked the same with my computer. When I get a corrupted file or a broken hard drive, I just showed it this magic item and it works fine after. Well, I got something better than a magic item. I just start threatening it with this hammer and it works fine after. When traveling, we're given a sweet little cutscene with the two. Always getting a sense of wonder through Nico's eyes with this world, with these transition scenes. Arriving at Glen, Nico is sad. The robot must return, for Nico will be alone again. The robot is like, LMAO, I was not tamed, bye! Here in Glen, it's a lot different compared to the barren wasteland. We see organic life and the colours are more vibrant. Just in a few moments of being here, we've got vegetation and illuminating the air are fireflies. The music itself has even softened a bit from the sharp, vacant, dreary track. In taking the welcome new scenery, some child runs into you trying to catch bugs for mummy. Well, they are beautiful, but also the fireflies contain green phosphor, which is used as a light source here instead of a shrimp. Due to the vastly different environments in which each of these creatures are found in, the flora also contains a lot of phosphor, but are protected, being one of the few light sources left. Keep walking and we stumble into this person, asking if we've seen his little sister, but soon getting distracted focusing on the sun. This is the third main character just focusing on the sun. I don't blame them. After living in a world like this, I too wouldn't be able to help myself. Such a thing will bring hope and joy that all will be well again. Before getting lost staring at this girl's sun, we must find the little sister. Coming across yet another sentinel robot. Like everyone else, notices the sun right away. The only way we're allowed to enter is to write our name on a sheet of paper. But nobody has a pen. How convenient for a side quest, I guess. The little sister is potentially in danger, but we must find the pen. There is another entrance. Lucky us, there's no telemarketer robot asking for your information. A lot of the passageways are blocked off with these vines or rubble hindering us. Continuing, we find flower to flower. But this one is dying because she hasn't felt the sun in so long, and asks so she can experience the sun before she dies. I was really skeptical when doing this. Maybe it's because I have an inherent distrust of talking plants. Thanks, Toby Fox. Like, I was expecting her to smash it and absorb all the energy or something. Honestly, I didn't know anything about this game when first playing. So what do? Give the sun to the dying girl, which could potentially break it, destroying this world? Or withhold it from her, letting her die in the cold darkness? I would like a third option, to sit holding the sun in front of her so she can do her thing. But I expect she wanted some privacy, deciding to leave the sun with her for our final moments. Reluctantly, I handed it over. Then she mentions the vines are gone now. Wait, so you were the one blocking off all the pathways? After being temporarily freed from the sun, doing some travelling, eventually encountering one of the new unlocked rooms with a puzzle. Exploring a bit more, coming across yet another computer. I'm sure this is how we're going to solve the puzzle. Probably telling you to go look inside your 2TB homework folder. But no, it straight up says it's the most easily accessed place on my machine. Then asks if we see it. Currently, I honestly don't. All I can see is OBS. Turns out it wasn't a file, but actually changed my background wallpaper. Guess this is the puzzle. After inputting that into the game, this blue bird girl comes out grateful that you saved her. This little creature here is the redbird's little sister that we've been looking for. Learning of the brother's name is Calamus. He really is relieved reuniting with Alula. The pixels. Sounds like the pixel glitches are spreading corruption or some sort. And if it spreads this far, they really must move. Anything that touches them gets messed up. These pixels you see before you is what they meant by the world is decaying. The world could fall apart later. To show thanks and hospitality, they invite you over to their house. They gift me a stunning feather. This was a sacred feather from a prophet. The feather they treasure so dear used to belong to their father. but thought it would be fitting for us to have it. Being a magic relic, it could potentially be useful. We talk a bit about the flower girl we encountered, but our health is deteriorating after the sun went. You know, like any photosynthetic plant would. But we're never told how the sun was lost, only that it's gone. And I'm sure they don't know either. I'm starting to think it was the pixels, or was it some untold evil? We stumble into an area where a river is separating you from the sacred burial grounds. And since the siblings don't have a boat, the friend uses a flying machine to get over, but it's not currently around to give us a lift, so that's not an option. I guess these bird people are flightless. Oh sweet, another bed. Just like last time, repeating the same dream, but revealing a bit more to us. She sees something and runs towards it, revealing it was a town. Nika wakes up telling us about her village, and rants about this world not having plants. I guess the moss and plant girl didn't count then. She also talks a lot about wheat. As she does, starting to get very homesick, super nostalgic for her wheat fields. Then opens up about her fear of the dark, and was glad to have conquered it before coming to this place because of how dark it is. This really shows that Nico is just a kid that the whole world's dependent on for any kind of future. But before we can save the world, we must do the very important pen quest. I'm sure we could use the feather Alula gave us, but we still need some ink anyway. Travelling into the village, I'm sure someone will have something. You can trespass and enter some people's houses to talk to them for some one-liners. A few people point out that Nico's eyes remind them of the sun. Then you have this demonic sheep. Coming across a trader, but all the items I have to trade are way too valuable. So now I'm looking for a job that supports child labour. Coming across a shepherd that will give you a great reward if you helped out. Now you have to do the sheep puzzle and what the... I wanted to work, not play Helltaker puzzle. After completing it, the demonic sheep began to chant some weird tune. Alrighty. Going to claim our reward, we get a... wool. Oh, I thought it was going to be something special, but I'm not complaining since we now have something to hopefully trade with. The trader is willing to give us some fabric dye for it, which will work. Combining it with the feather, we get a feather pen. This truly is Minecraft crafting. Running back to the robot to sign away my freedom, only to be reminded we're forgetting something. Oh yeah, I'm forgetting the sun. You know, the whole reason we're even here. When returning to the spot Nico left it, soon we find not only has Maze, aka the plant girl, has left the sun. Well, I was really skeptical to begin with, leaving the sun with the plant girl, and now the sun's gone out. This is devastating, the only hope left has gone. Picking it up in despair, we learn that when Nico makes contact with the sun, she can reignite the bulb. Lucky we have another shot at this. I still wonder why it even went out in the first place. As we walk through leaving Glen, springing up are the pixels blocking our return, forcing us into Refuge. Here in Refuge, it's the final frontier of the world, and where the tower resides. We come across yet another sentinel golem, giving us a quest to find a library, which is on the surface. Great, but the only transport to it being this elevator that happens to be broken. Oh no, what are we gonna do? Trying to kick the door down is some hot-headed vampire. Bro, the buttons are missing, I don't think kicking it in is gonna help. First thing I did was raided the nearest kitchen for supplies to craft a new elevator button. Acquiring an empty coffee tin, wow, such divine treasure. Coming across another bed which forces you to close the game again. From Glen's bed to this one here is probably only taken under 5 minutes. If they somehow manage to move the bed a bit so I don't pretty much immediately close the game again, I wouldn't have an issue. Opening the game once again. This time we're greeted by a lady in a yellow apron. We see Nico with a fork and a massive stack of pancakes. Yes, Nico, I too would be amazed. Waking up and cutting the dream short, Nico tells us about her mother, and how her favorite food is pancakes, getting them for her birthday. Very heartwarming this conversation is, talking about her enjoyments and all. Those feelings are fleeting as Nico starts getting homesick, saying, "Let's get going." Aw, I'm sorry Nico, you're right, let's push on. But we're not too much in a rush to ride the Marumba. Trying to sleep in these beds will leave Nico roasting you for being rude. Bruh, you literally slept in other people's beds already. Trespassing and stealing items, and you have the morals to tell me that? Oh dear, another computer. Where will I have to find the clues this time? In my homework folder? Oh, what's that? I already used that joke? Well here, I'll make it up to you by making you some pancakes. The computer tells us we're gonna need this soon, handing us some film to be exposed to the void, and the answer will be revealed when we bring it back. I'm gonna assume those glitchy pixels popping up out of the void. I wonder, are we gonna get a picture of Arthur Ford? Well, if we inspect what we got, it's titled as Weird Film, and when interacting with it, just shows us a bunch of numbers. So trying to insert the film into the glitches doesn't work, but the numbered screen is windowed. So since most of the puzzles have been outside the game related, dragging it off screen reveals highlighted numbers being the code we needed. Turns out the void is off your monitor screen. We found another item for our journey being scissors. So like any reasonable child would do, I ran around holding them. With these magical scissors, we're able to cut through the metal to craft a button, ? Are you asking me? Yeah sure, that looks like a button I think. I mean, you just use scissors as tin snips, so it's not like I understand this world at all. So let's see if this works. Inserting the button, fitting snugly into the slot. Inserting it to then only fall apart. I guess I need something to hold it all together. The game even renamed it to "You Tried." You don't have to rub in the salt on me. But with the use of some tape, you can hold all of it together. Hopefully this works. When the elevator is powered on, the pixel glitch things cover the place, only for them to disappear shortly after, this being the first time we've seen them vanish. Nico asks the dude if he saw them as well. He explains the squares are a common occurrence, but he wasn't talking about what happened right then, making me think he didn't. What he did see was the elevator asking for a security code. Yeah, this dude probably thinks Nico is losing it. It is strange that we only saw them. Probably too overworked and exhausted to notice them. Now, for the security code, remember the number sequence we got from the film? Those same numbers allow us to unlock the elevator. I do wonder why he didn't have a code for the elevator. The next bit is every stereotype of an awkward elevator ride, where nothing is said but awkward silence. Well, eventually Nico had enough of that, asking us what we could talk about with the purple dude. We could continue, but choosing this skips all the dialogue lore. You can ask about the city, library, and his job. He is literally referred to as the lamplighter through the entire game. His job is to repair and refill the lights with high energy phosphor, which used to be the job for an army of robots. But they started to break down, leaving it for him to do. Later we uncover a lot about this world and the nature of phosphor, which was a byproduct of the world and remnants of the old one. The ones we know so far are the blue, green, and red. The red is exclusively a mineral that when combined with a solution, it will output power which the whole city is built around. But it's not renewable, as when it's depleted, it will crystallize and permanently lose its energy. Phosphorus is number 15 on the periodic table, and it comes in many different types and colors. How we use phosphorus in the most common way? It's used in light production. This happens when UV light, which is not visible, is absorbed by the phosphorus and in turn emits visible light. You would only need about 10 milligrams in one of your light bulbs. Phosphorus is really abundant. We can even look at ourselves. There is 3 to 4.5 milligrams in a deciliter of blood of a human. You actually need it in your body to make energy, meaning you would need around 250 milliliters of blood per bulb. The standard of blood you can donate is around 470 milliliters, which can make us close to 2 light bulbs. Obviously the different types of phosphorus has its own roles, but I'm saying in general that it's a very important thing in living. But plants contain way more phosphorus, containing up to 3% of its internal mass, compared to humans with a measly 0.2%. Now with energy production, it's not so straightforward. Energy production from phosphorus is not something that you see often, so as an electrical engineer, I can't really comment on that. Milking phosphorus from a human for light or energy is theoretically possible, but I don't see it actually working out. So I can't compare it to the real world phosphorus, even if we pretend that it all works the same. Not being the same world, it could very much act differently. The city is also struggling through all this. It is more stable than the rest of the world, so many people escape to Refuge here. Thank you very much, Mr. Purple Man, for the company, but we'll have to be on our way. Walking around the city, the atmosphere is very tense. Some question if Nico can even fix the sun. And Nico is unsure, hoping that she can, and with our guidance, she surely can. Because being a god must count for something. We eventually stumble onto the library, and was told by the front of the desk to meet the head librarian to ask where to travel next. We then patiently wait as the receptionist calls her down to meet us. Well, she didn't pick up. But she's most likely upstairs in her office, browsing r/funny, finding absolutely nothing hilarious. We are told her office is behind the desk and we should go and speak to her personally. Okay, to the office then, but it turns out I need a library card to access it. Okay, where do I get a library card? That is an excellent question for the head librarian, because of course it is, and proceeds to call her again. And what do you know this time? She still didn't pick up. How convenient. Nico asks if she can just be let through. But the robot said it's against its programming and it can't be flexible with that because it's not been tamed. But he'll gladly call the head librarian again to ask where to get a library card. Luckily Nico stops him before he calls. Now to get this MacGuffin side quest. Hopefully I can find someone down in a dark alley to sell me a fake ID. All of a sudden getting a PNG jump scare of some animal. Nico is terrified of this, questioning about it. For Nico, her vision went blank and was shown as if it was a short dream. Pushing on, coming across a mysterious alley holding a healthy common tree. In front we see the dream animal being a fox. Approaching startles the poor thing dashing behind the tree. Surprisingly then begins to speak. It apologizes to us, stating it cannot talk to us. I was expecting it to say tame me, like in The Little Prince. But instead asks if we could return at a different time to speak. Why would I? You're just some random animal I've never met, with looks like social anxiety. And wants me to come back because you asked? Can you tell me something so I'm a little bit invested in meeting again? No? Well okay, be that way then. I have a world around me that's falling apart, sorry, but this is more important. Progressing, stumbling into a room full of lenses, allowing us to collect some, as with the rest of the collectibles in this game, very integral in the game's progression. If we continue down here, it leads to the purple guy from the elevator. Nico asks him where to get a library card, and he says the factory. Okay, guess that's our next stop. Arriving in our own time, at first sight, worried scientists run around frantically. Oh, this can't be good. Learning that the phosphor is running out. And being their primary power source for Refuge, even he doesn't know what to do about it. There are also pixels that have taken the scientists' robots. One of the scientists mentioned that the Glitz pixels have taken out 2 of the robots in Glen. The situation is really getting dire rapidly. We know that the pixels started to appear over from the ocean. Could this be because it's the furthest away from the tower where the sun used to lay? Or it might have been the scientists doing with the water project we heard about. But it could have just been them testing the water for toxins at this point. In the top room we find... oh cool, another silver robot. Oh wait, no, it turns out this is a real person. They do look similar though. That's because the person before you, Kip, made silver. Wow, she's so much more cheerful than her creation. And she was honestly a joy to chat with, a nice little spark to her joy to help us carry on. and being a big help giving us her library card. But there is a problem, being that they have facial recognition. So we'll need to change the image on the ID. I guess taping a photo on it will work? This is some now you see me levels of infiltration, and I know just the place to accomplish this. Already acquired lenses that will now be used to take our photo. Wait, but first we must solve this puzzle of which lens goes where. A bit of trial and error and boom, we're done. We are now able to forge our own documents. Wow, Nico's crimes are all stacking up real quick. In the name of good, I guess. Getting our photo, we glued it onto crafting us a new get out jail free card. Time to break into a governmental building. So let's see if this so-called artificial intelligence really has that intellect. No, I guess they have room temperature intelligence, just like TikTok users. I went through all that to get the card just for that kind of security? I mean, the ID number on the card and the face recognition should not match the person registered on it. But oh well. Entering the librarian's office, we meet a dice lady. I mean the librarian named George. We then ask how to enter the tower. But like nearly everyone else, was no help there. Because she doesn't know anything about it. Wow, I can't believe I did all that for this. I guess while I'm here, and this being probably the best person to ask about books, I roll the dice and ask her about the strange journal I have. She is very shocked when I showed her my fanfic, and asks if she could borrow it to translate so sane people can read my dyslexic writing. Nico agrees, then states she is extremely tired even though you slept like 20 minutes ago. I guess I can excuse Nico for being a kid, and a cat. We are pointed to the guest room for a nap. This time when we open up the game again, the music slows down to show the devastation of Nico devouring the pancakes. But then she recognizes something familiar in the distance. The music suddenly stops, Nico shocked, missing a heartbeat. Cutting to the sun, the bulb, the world's hope, was smashed. We awaken from the unpleasant moment. And normally we would talk about the dreams, but Nico seems distorted. Saying, "Come on, let's go," which speaks volume of what Nico is feeling. When visiting the librarian, miraculously she was somehow able to translate the book. Surprisingly, it was written for us, not you and Nico, just you, the player. Reading, it greets the player. If you can finally read this, this means you're near the tower. The tower is the domain of the elusive entity. This being is connected to the world. From now you can think of it as the spirit of the world. It has no physical form but can communicate through computers and other machinery. This here explains a lot about the sentient fourth wall breaking computers, and we are forced to talk to them to progress through. That wasn't just some person talking through the matrix, it was the tower entity thing itself. And Nico won't be able to do anything when inside, and it's all up to us to figure out the pattern on the floor and do what it says. Heading out of the library to the tower, Nico tells us she's hungry, wanting us to stop at the cafe for a bit to eat before we finish the deed. Well, fair enough, you've slept like 4 times, possibly even a few rotations by now, and you haven't eaten anything since you've got here. Backtracking to the cafe, to celebrate the accomplishments of making it this far, Nico orders pancakes, her favourite food. We then start to talk a lot to the bartender. They ask if Nico's favourite food is pancakes, responding that it's her second favourite. Her favourite is the special ones her mum makes whenever she feels sad or lonely. Nico begins to cry, really missing her. All of a sudden, all of her emotions are on full display, saying that she feels bad and she's probably been brought here not even to save the world, because so many people have said the sun won't even fix anything, making her uncertain on why she's even here in the first place. It's hard to be your best up-spirited in such a downbeat, depressing world. All Nico really wants is to see her mother. Nico is just a kid, a lost child in a world that they don't understand, given such a massive burden that is constantly told that will fail. But it's sweet that the bartender reassures Nico that it's all going to be alright. And this journey is not for nothing. Nico finishes her fluffy cakes, then heads off. Now to the tower. Beginning by entering a massive room. with a kind of big closing tab sign on the floor. Remembering read the book earlier saying follow the pattern on the floor. Guess I must close the game to progress. What a twist. In the dream sequence, having the light cheerful dream music, Nico on her knees in a white filled room, beginning to fade to black as Nico is still in the same predicament. Does this indicate that we're in a dream world, or some other state? Immediately Nico notices she's without the sun. Nico asks us if we know what happened to it. She tries to talk to us so many times, even beginning to scream for you, but as much as we want to ease her worries telling her you're still here, we are unable to. We are never given any way to talk to her, but we could still hear and see Nico and guide her, which is frustrating because I don't want her to think that I abandoned her, or anyway wish to do anything of the sort. Why can't I speak back to her? Was our only way to communicate with her through the bulb? I have so many questions. Walking around in this gloomy dark for some sort of consultation. Eventually we come across a computer. Instead of addressing us, the player, for the first time addressing Nico in this case. Telling Nico she's finally inside the tower. Nico immediately asks where her companion has gone, which the computer heartbreakingly responds that we have left Nico all alone. No, Nico, I didn't leave you, I'm still here. The computer saying I had to resort to contacting you directly. Nico worryingly asks if you're gone for good. The computer confirms it. Also that we have completed our mission, and so has Nico. You should treat this all as a bad dream, giving us a bed to finally wake up. When Nico wakes up, she'll be at home. Nico was a bit depressed that there wasn't more to it. Like going on top of the tower and placing the light bulb. Seeing the accomplishment of saving this world. But now she doesn't even have the sun, or know what difference she even made to this bleak world. The computer telling Nico she did a good job, she's already saved the world, then shuts off. At this point, I don't trust the computer, and why should we? How do we even know that we've saved the world? For all we know, the computer vanished the old sun, sending this world into a withering state. Before Nico goes to bed, sadly saying she never got to say goodbye to us, giving us an emotional moment of abandonment, then proceeding to go to sleep. We then get a window text. As for you, we are done here. Please do not return to this world anymore. Then, it finally closes. No, I don't think I will. You knew I was still here since you're talking to me. I need to know why you're doing this. Are you trying to deceive me and Nico? And outright lying that I abandoned her? No, I'm not going to leave you, Nico. Opening the game is just Nico sleeping, and doing any interaction will leave the game to close. Guess that's an amazingly anticlimactic ending. Like Nico said, I wish I could say goodbye. Come on, I'm really invested in this game, but guess that's it. Closing Steam, exposing my wallpaper has changed again. This is not over. Regardless of what the entities told you, there's more to the story. Documents my game and in one shot. Look for the symbol. Once it's active, please relaunch the game. Cool, so I might finally get the ending of consultation of looking for the clover symbol. But this does raise some questions. If all the fourth wall breaking was done by the tower/entity computers, who's talking to us now? Opening the files and looking where I was told. Oh, turns out they were telling the truth. Quickly opening that. Giving us a clover tab. Cool, is that it? Well, guess to relaunch the game and find out. And it worked. We see Nico in one of her dream sequences. But unlike before, we can now speak to her inside the dream, which she notices. This startles her, causing an abrupt wake up. Calling for us, but we still cannot respond. Nico sadly thinks we're still not there. She then finds something in her pocket which she never put in there. Inspecting the item, it's a clover, the same one for program we used to re-enter the world. The entity is annoyed that we've come back, and started ranting about us returning. You, why did you come back? You knew I tried to cut the story short, is that it? Wait, you knew there was more to all this. Why are you doing this then? If you don't want to leave, I'll make sure you never do. Then we'll edit, deleting our surroundings and creating a door in front of us. Appearing around us are these extra torn pages. Back then I told you about the entity as little as possible. The only person talking about the entity was the author of that book. So this, right now, is the author helping us? Oh, that makes sense now since it was on all of his books. Yeah, the clover symbol is his signature, or at least the cover for all of his work. You see that there's a clover on the bottom right of each of these torn out pages. Lining them up and then following the path to solve this puzzle. Oh, that's simple enough. Every new section giving us new pages of direction and text. Incorrectly doing so will result in a progress reset. This being has a habit of silencing the people who learn of its true nature. Oh, so like every social media platform these days. But don't worry, the entity can't touch you. Yeah, but it's touching my poor computer with its files and wallpaper changing. I'm just glad it can't physically touch me. Let's hope that statement stays true. Then it lets us know that I already left the world on my own terms. I do wonder where the author has gone. Now exiting the cross section into a new place with only 2 doors. I never meant for the entity to exist. Interesting, so you created the entity? So this rough AI or whatever it is now out of control, trapping us here on purpose? Did the AI have anything to do with the fall of the last sun? It might be so, since it's trying to hinder us from restoring this new one. So many questions, so little time. But now that it's fully sentient, one thing's clear. The entity seeks death. Wow, that's a big turn. Went from being annoying to hindering us to sacrifice me please. Death to itself, death to the world, and a relentless desire that is manifested physically. Right now the entity is doing everything I can to impede your progress, stalling you for even those few minutes. Before you inevitably bring the sun to the tower summit. That is where you will make the final judgment for the world. Of course the entity will try to contact you there again. And when it does, it will trick you into shattering the sun. This will end the world instantly. I'm sorry, I don't know what to do in a situation like this. But I have to tell the truth. The sun is the Messiah's tie to the world. As long as the sun is intact, the Messiah remains trapped here. Shattering the sun might terminate this world, but it's also the only way for the Messiah to return home. We see the light bulb lying there, lightless. Nika has truly lost hope. With the sun and us gone, she really doesn't know what to do to come back from this. Even though we were the one who was with her every step of the way, guiding her. Miraculously, we can finally talk to Nico again. Nico is really surprised that we came back, and is skeptical that it's even us. Nico actually believed that we abandoned her. I tell her I never left her side. Nico saying how lonely and lost she was without us. After picking up the light bulb, the sun finally illuminated. Nico is flooded with hope. Both us and the sun have returned. We are then transported to a long dark hallway. Kind of like the same room at the beginning of the game. Oh yeah, we are back in the same room we first woke up in. But fixed up, with it actually being a livable space now, making it less depressing. Who knew cleaning your room would make it such an effect? Making everything more homely and comforting, hopeful and so on. Almost to relax us for some subliminal messaging, or at least more accepting to whatever's about to happen. When exiting the same way that lets us out, we don't end up in the Barrens like before, but in a hallway. We also get greeted by the entity. I guess you're in. When you reach the summit, shatter the light bulb and... Are you still planning to save the world? Haven't you even figured out what this world is? From what I'm assuming, the world is not what it seems, and we will find out what the world is later. Because you wouldn't be openly telling us this without a character choice. I told you at the beginning, your mission is to help Nico leave, because Nico isn't part of this world. Nico is the only thing worth saving here. You only have one shot. At the end of the hallway there's an elevator that leads to the top of the tower. Nico asks if we're excited. To be honest, not really. Nico doesn't know this yet, but if Nico restores the sun, if Nico saves the world, she'll never return home. But even then, it might not bring salvation to his already crumbling reality. But if Nico shatters the sun, the world will plummet into darkness and cease to exist. But Nico will return home, which is what Nico really wants. And the unnecessary evil of the entity to have this world destroyed will win. Nico continues by saying, and then, I will get to go home for real this time too. Hopefully, we're given the option to tell Nico this truth. The truth about we can't save both, the world and you. She doesn't want this world to end though. She then begins to question what happens to her if the world is saved. Which honestly, I don't know, which scares me. Here we are, the entire journey has led us to reach the top, and right there is where the sun belongs. Nico looks to us for guidance. What's the right thing to do? No, Nico, don't make me choose. The game gives us the heartbreaking decision to decide the outcome. At this point, not only do I love Nico, but also the inhabitants of their world. I really wanted the good ending, but whatever I choose will shorthand the other. This is an extremely tough decision, and sadly, I choose to help the many. I couldn't let an entire world be destroyed, for one, no matter how attached I am to them. So, for the greater good, and the future for many, like Nico, I decide to return the sun. Nico doesn't show much hesitation on the decision, and understands the bigger picture. Can't let everyone die. Nico then thanks us for helping, and promises to be okay, proceeding to place the sun in the pedestal. A cutscene of Nico placing the sun, and everything illuminating with wonder, showing us all the characters we've met. Amari mesmerized by the sight of the new sun, a new day finally breaking the everlasting darkness, as the credits play. And when the credits are done, we are shown the room we first woke up in, but the cleaned up version. This time, without Nico. Then, the game ends, for the final time. I'm glad I saved the world, but I would have liked to have known what happened to Nico, or what about the fox? Did I miss a section with it? Like a side quest? Well, that's the end of the game. Every time I launch the game, it shows the room, then closes. What a wonderful, heartwarming game. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. See ya.
There's more. No.
Oh, what's this? Looks like you completed your mission in the world, and I understand. I know you wish to return, but the entity called itself Oneshot for a reason. That restriction was implemented a long time ago. Removing it isn't possible now, at least for me. I don't know the full extent of your powers, so pardon me if this sounds foolish. But if you would be so kind to test something out for me. Not gonna lie, this sounds like those sponsor emails saying they're willing to pay you big money for downloading and testing their software, but you just downloaded a virus. A log of your saved progress may be somewhere on your machine. Maybe even in the same location journal you're reading now. If the saved progress log takes the form of a file, perhaps you may manipulate it. Try removing it from its current location. A simple deletion will do the trick. This game has time and time again tried to trick you into giving up or thinking the game's over. That's all this game does, play mind tricks on you, making you always second guessing yourself. Now, I didn't know about this when I first played. I thought that was the end of the game. Only a few months later, seeing people talk about the Solstice update. There's still more to this game and not just doing the other ending. If you choose to break the sun, all reality cease to exist. However, Nico can leave the world and go home. But everything you know is gone. Every person you met is gone. When placing the sun, Nico vanishes his physical form and seemingly dies with that, is what I conclude when he vanishes after returning it. As the bulb is the only thing tethering her to this domain, the world is saved and Nico achieves his destiny as becoming the Messiah. which was the original one I did for the first time playing. But there is more, following the author's instructions of deleting the save progress file. Now, this should allow us to play the game or continue the story. When launching Oneshot, we are greeted with the main menu, like the start of a game, almost as if a total wipe has happened, but not entirely. When Nico wakes up, she yells for us, and doesn't remember why she said that. Now, the rest of it repeats exactly the same as a fresh startup, until you reach the mines next to Silver, then there's some alterations to the story. Other there than being a few dialogue changes. Like the computer asking if we've already been through all this, asking about us. And Nico having small recollections of almost like nothing is truly lost. But let's just skip to the mine shaft for the truly interesting changes. We get a vision kind of like the fox back in the alley at Refuge, but having a different silhouette, more like the Prophet bot. Nico exclaims that what happened was like a very short dream for her while we were talking about it. Silver informs us there was a robot who always insisted in going into the mines. Something Silver wouldn't have told us without Nico bringing attention to it. Then something in Nico's pocket starts to glow. Further inspection reveals it's the journal. Neither Silver or Nico knows what this book is. Silver hands us the medallion, which is also now glowing, and saying both the book and the journal have the clover symbol on it, thinking that they might be made by the same person. And we should have it just in case, as they seem important and they're both being linked. The glow from these is from one of the scarcest materials, the yellow sulfur. It glows forever and is the same as that fuels the sun. Things like the amber, coin, Nico's eyes, and so on. Silver never specified who it might be trying to communicate to with the journal. But at this point I'm certain it's the author, since it was used whenever they were trying to talk to us. Or even on all the books they wrote. When inspecting the journal, we see a drawing of this exact place, but must have been when it was operational since there isn't a massive cavern in it. There's a clover on the ground, and when stepping on it and then opening the book, a minecart magically appears, deciding to get in and to now explore the mine. Which we couldn't do last time we were here without the journal world editing the carton. Travelling a bit in, we are stopped by some text. I don't recognize this place in protocol. This isn't what I'm supposed to be showing you at all. You were going out of bounds. Bad things are about to happen. I'm sure this is the entity talking to us right now. I mean, it's clearly not happy that we're doing this. At the end of the mineshaft, we end up in an old observation room, which is a total bust, except one machine seems to be operational. Huh. Silver 2 wondering about it, saying that she needs to investigate and leaving us alone. Into the next room, there's a robot which I can presume is from the vision earlier. The robot begins to say, "We are the person I'm destined to meet," even though they don't even know our name. Then beginning to ask who sent us and how we got here. We could then bring up the minecart being well edited in from the journal. The robot asks to see the journal. Then all is said is, then it has already begun, handing us his main memory, and wants us a way to install a backup. For us to do so, we'll have to complete another puzzle. Who would have guessed that from a puzzle game? The display behind the robot will be very important. Going to the robot town with the corresponding numbers, we need to input the icon if there are robots in the building, or being a medical building or a power generator. After completing the puzzle, we insert the memory disk for installation, then handing it back to the robot. With this, he is finally able to remember who he is, since his memory was damaged. He tells us he was the prototype Prophet bot, with the task of greeting the savior of the old world. Then he goes on a rant about the other Prophet bot we already met being a primitive, not tamed version. Basically your typical CS Surf unbetter commentary video from the old days. So Prototype over here knows that this is the second round and we already went to the tower. And we either put the sun in or didn't, which at this point doesn't matter. Nico is struggling since she can't remember going through this world before. He then tells Nico to close her eyes and focus. And what this does makes Nico's memory awaken and all flood back. Nico asks how he could remember everyone but nobody remembering her. Prototype tells us the NPC's memories don't last beyond the scope of the session. Wait, so everyone in this world is an NPC? How is Nico any different? Is Nico inside a simulation? Nico doesn't know what an NPC is, because why would she know? None of this is real, and all these characters only exist when you launch the game. This goes for the world itself. It does not exist until the player launches the game, so that explains why exiting the game is left Nico in darkness. Well, that's a sad way I left her for a month. Prototype calls this the World Machine, a universe simulator that runs on our computer. We are not playing a computer game, we are simulating a world that only exists as long as we open for. Oh jeez, that's heavy. Guess every time I closed it, I killed them all. I wonder what twisted thing is going to be revealed next, like how we're controlling Nico's actions. Nico believes she's not real, but Prophetbot reassures her she is. Which is why you're so important. Wait, so all we did, all that relationships and good deeds, and the final sacrifice for the greater good of the world was for nothing? And we only really sacrificed the only worthwhile thing? Way to go, now I feel terrible for trying to do good. I could have just put the sun in a crusher at the start and sent Nico back then and there without endangering her through all this. Prophetbot then states the biggest flaw of the program is that it cannot run independently, requiring the mental process ability of a real player from another universe, aka the player. Think of it like a dream. When you wake up, it's gone. He also talks about the pixels that's caused by signal disruption, and is eating away at the world, slowly rendering it to an unrecognizable mess. Even if we brought the sun back, it will not fix that. We are then told to make our way to Glen. Appearing, Silver turns up and talks to Prophetbot. Both start talking about the past, eventually handing over the amber to Prophetbot, and needing Silver to escort us for the remainder of this area since he detected a lot of pixels around. Trying to go back using a minecart, we are interrupted by the entity yet again. What happened at the tower? Oh, so the entity is not an NPC but also alive like Nico then? What I tried to do, and how you managed to see through it all. Even though it was only supposed to run once, you still managed to come back, bringing Nico to a place that never should have been. And now Nico is upset. Suddenly, the pixels consume the track and cart. This causes an earthquake, resulting in the tunnel collapsing. Having no way back out at all, Prototype comes up with a very useful information of an emergency exit for the exact reason of a mine collapse. The exit pathway just so happens to be behind the computer terminal. Anyway, so we just dip to another mine shaft, allowing us to escape. Halfway down, we get stopped yet again by the entity. I tried, but now the entity is destabilizing, causing another earthquake cave-in, but luckily we get saved by Silver, telling us we desperately need to escape, but before any more could be said, gets consumed by the pixels, leading to her demise. Proceeding down the mine shaft, but the pixels keep pursuing us. Prototype hands us his memory disc right before getting separated by more pixels. He tells us the path ahead leads to Glen, meaning we don't need the boat like last time. When there, we must find someone called Cedric and give him the disc. We leave Prototype also getting pixelated as we transition into a cutscene. Unlike other scenes, this is the first we see Nico sitting there as it slowly zooms out, showing how isolated and depressed she is. I mean, you're given the burden of the entire world, then shattering your reality of nothing being real. Even though they shouldn't matter being NPCs, you still feel a connection with them, seeing two get brutally pixelated, and also having to recover from your past mental state with only being a child. I too would feel the weight of all of it, so Nico is totally justified. Arriving at Glen, we see the city gate and the golem has been taken over by the pixels. Heading over to Allura and Calamess's house for them to be outside homeless as the pixels have infested their home. We talk a bit about the city gate being destroyed and how we're unable to enter. Calamess mentions about the passage to the burial grounds maybe being another way. Heading down the passageway, we're given another vision. This person I assume is Cedric, the person Prototype mentioned. Shortly after, the journal starts glowing just like last time. And conveniently, a clover is also here, so some hocus pocus like last time, we spawn in a boat. Everyone aboard, we now proceed to a heartwarming cutscene with them enjoying the calm boat ride. Beaching on the burial grounds. Both the siblings go to pay respect at the parents' grave. I join them also to show our respect. After a bit, I decide to explore, then running into this air pilot. Must be the person who usually takes the siblings here with their flying machine. He introduces himself as Cedric. Right, got it, you're the person we're sent to acquire. And Prototype nicely informed Cedric that we would be arriving, unlike most NPCs in the video game. His plan is to pick us up using the plane. Oh, my mistake, he calls it the flying machine. Yeah, I'm sure a microwave is also called a heating box. So this is the famous flying machine Callus told us about of his friend having, and how they get from Glen to here. But Cedric doesn't know who Calamus or Allura is. So it must have been Cedric's father or in a previous iteration. Oh, so that makes a bit more sense. Your father is the author, and Calamus got the book he's reading from him and all this. Ah yes, it's all coming together. Then proceeds to tell us about the history of the flying machine. Using the machine would be the best to get to the city. And normally that would be the case. But the battery is dead and some of the gears need replacing. Going and collecting the parts and handing them over to Cedric, he is able to fix the flying machine. While Cedric is working, he mentioned that the world we're currently in and the game that we're running, his father created it. When filling in the gaps, Prototype didn't mention about the old world. My father, myself, the other two. None of us are part of the simulation itself. Our home, the real world, was actually destroyed a long time ago. A vague prophecy about a messiah from another world becoming everyone's last bastion of hope. Prototype Bot was built to predict the future about the specifics of this messiah. Using the last of his resources, he built the most ambitious project yet, the World Machine. And how it operates is by using all the old memories collected from everyone he knew around it. After a heavy amount of modifications, and an added narrative, my father was able to convert the entire structure into code, becoming this world game we are currently playing. After the world ended, the code kinda just ended up floating in the void indefinitely, waiting for a willing operator to install it onto their own hardware. Which would be us, the user, comes in and downloads fragments of the old world just so they can live on. Cedric finishes up on the plane just before Calamus and Allura come running too, warning us about the quickly approaching pixels. The only way out is using the plane, but the problem is it's only having room for 2 passengers. Really? Is this how every encounter in the Solstice route's going to happen? Just everyone dying? What about the lamp dude? Is he going to have to die as well when I arrive? Cedric prioritizes Nico to get into the plane and promises he would be back for the siblings in an hour. We get another sequence with Nico and Cedric flying over the city, and Nico still doing that cute amazed face. Cedric lands the flying machine and tells us to get going and we'll be back with the siblings. As saying this, the plane gets consumed by the pixels. Damn, I knew something like this would happen. We have no way to save Calamus and Allura from the ever-expanding pixels from them. Cedric asks for the memory disk Prototype gave us earlier, then gives Nico a task of finding a large clock and there should lay a door, which has a pair of ground access elevators. I guess these are for emergencies or secret, because otherwise we don't need to repair the other elevator with the purple dude. Once reaching the ground, we must immediately try find Rue and bring her back to the room. While doing this, Cedric will try bring Prototype Bot back, then proceeding to jump off the platform, all Action Man style, a bit dramatic. Bumping into the purple guy telling us everyone is crowded in a cafe and needs evacuation to the surface. The pixels cover this elevator, making it impossible for anyone to evacuate now. Heading to a clock where Cedric told us there'll be a door. For those who didn't play the original game, when you're at the tower, either place it or smash it to save the world or send Nico home. That was it. All of this wasn't part of the game. This being called the Solstice run was all added later, and this clock countdown was part of that. To enter, we must find the word, the password, in the documents. The word being Solstice. Inside are 4 glowing rectangles corresponding to who knows at this point, and 2 elevators with only one seemingly working. But the lever to activate it is too short for Nico to get. We must achieve the great power of height from the purple dude. When getting him, he's surprised about this because he's lived here his whole life and never knew about this one elevator. He's able to reach the lever with his great height power, and we are now able to reach the surface. Probably should have helped those stranded in the cafe, but before I could turn back to do so, the purple dude does exactly that. Oh cool, but as soon doing so, The elevator gets a jump scare by pixels trapping them inside, unable to leave. He reassures us that the pixels are not inside the elevator, but they can hear them all around him. Nico wants to save them, but we are unable. I mean, what can we even possibly do to fix this? At least we can keep moving or get infected by the pixels. In the city, we hear cries for help from Kip. We watch her following Cedric, only to be separated by the appearance of more pixels blocking her path. Meeting with her, she'll escort us to the library, where is one of the last refuge places since the current site is really unstable. When George comes to talk to Kip, we first time learn her full name being Kip Silverpoint. Talking about how Kip tried to stop Cedric as he forced himself into the lab and stole a bunch of things. We inform her that we know him and he's just trying to help. George then says he also needed a book from the back room for an emergency, but when obtained it, just immediately ran off. As the discussion continues, the ground heaves, buildings start to shake and we can hear the structure begin to crumble. Kip quickly checks what it is, and says the laboratory has collapsed, the one with Cedric in it. Sheesh, I know the things were bad in this world, but the second time round, it's really upped its intensity. Kip losing her cheerful look on things, having a more depressed tone, just like her creation Silver, saying it's better for the world to die naturally. Making sure everyone is okay, I leave to complete the task Cedric has bestowed upon me. Walking past the decaying remnants of this place, watching as the pixels remove everything I can see why it's been a struggle to even live here. Or even find a solution. Nearly everything is cut off and we're forced down a dark alley. Remembering about the fox from earlier telling us this is not the time or something of that sort, and having one of those daydream sequences, I thought might as well give it a visit. Yet and behold, it actually knows Nico's name and didn't immediately run off this time. Nico guesses this is Rue. She confirms this, then presses the matter that we must return to the clock room. With the original elevator still corrupted, we check to see if the purple dude is still doing okay, for us to never get a response. Luckily there is another elevator, but I would have liked to use the original one to get the purple dude out and safe. What's the point of saving this world if by the end everyone is gone? Everyone we cared about, is it still worth saving at this point? When we reach the top of the clock room, Rue asks where the other two are. Prototype Bot and Cedric, because we need them all for something. Nico reassures that they didn't abandon her and Cedric is rebuilding Prototype Bot, but the laboratory he was in collapsed. Rue hopelessly saying that there goes our only chance. Nico apologizes, trying to comfort her, and thinking it was all her fault. Rue telling Nico it's not her fault and she wants to tell us something upstairs. Up on the rail of the sky bridge, where the two talk about how hard even for her to accept this is all simulated. They talked a bit about the old world and its destruction. Rue's original home was the old world, and Nico is unable to go to her home. They shared a moment of homesickness, growing together as they do. We confirm that the entity is a spirit of the world, which we're not told here. The pixels were always here in this world, and the creator thought the instability was due to the sheer size of the project. So he spent most of his time testing it over and over, scaling it down, and the story changed the narrative. By the time he realized the actual root of the problem was a homeworld's remaining lifespan was measured in a mere few days, being too late to save. The World Machine doesn't believe any of the world's residents are real. The odds are against us, we have no chance of taming it. We all have heard the word taming so many times throughout the game, but we don't actually understand what it means. Here Rue finally lets us in on what taming is. You can't build a robot not to follow its code, in the sense of what happened to the World Machine. But when they start believing itself is a real individual, allowing it to fully embrace being a living thing, explains why the untamed robots such as the desk robot or the guard who aren't tamed can't stray away from their programming. Rue finishes with all my creator wanted was to write a happy ending, which is the only way for us to save Nico at this point. But unfortunately for that, we needed Cedric and Prototype Bot to achieve it. But they're both gone, and we have no idea how to proceed. Straight after, we're forced to move on with the invasion of the pixels, forcing us back downstairs. We are reunited surprisingly by Cedric then Prototype Bot, and then proceeding to tell us the tale of why neither of them are dead. By surviving the factory's collapse in the robot assembly room, being quote tough, Prototype wasn't too difficult to resurrect. With the help of his father's books, he had all the structural schematics to do so. Everyone then following Nico into the illuminated room. They are astonished by them. These code portals. They temporarily remove us from the world, and them specifically are to be removed since Cedric's father hidden decryption keys in their code. Their keys will combine into a central location. It will achieve an encrypted part of this world. Confused cat noises. Rue helps Nico process information dump those two did without considering if Nico could even understand a word they were babbling on about. All these portals represent a physical location on a computer when stepping in directly walking onto the machine. I really do wonder how that would work. Am I gonna have little Nikos running around my computer like the Goose virus? But to even do so, I will need to move a few things around on my computer. Each code portal color is for each character. No hidden meaning, just whatever color they have on them. With green is for Cedric, pink is for Rue, then blue is for Prototype Bot. With all of them on, it just leaves the one purple one unoccupied. But the book needs our attention since it's glowing. Opening it then reveals the file location, giving us a good start on what is to be done. Here at the location, I immediately noticed the new files. Big Portal, Portal 1, Portal 2, and Portal 3. Inside each of the normal portals, we have the assets for each of the characters for the game. Although I do think they are missing a few facial expressions. With a little text document telling us to put them in the big portal, which the file currently has nothing inside. We do this for all three of the characters, placing Rue, Cedric, and Prototype in the big portal, for them to re-enter the world of Oneshot. Where we last left our friends were nowhere to be found. I want to test if I could just put them back and see if it would work. Well, behind the purple door, looks like a projection is showing, allowing us to enter, who knows where. Inside this room, looks like a surveillance study room. And from the books being littered around and there being a feather flying helmet, I would assume this is Cedric's dad, the author. I'm completely surprised when our buddies walked in from where I don't know. The expansion squad all recognizes this room here is the world machine and Cedric's father's study room. We already kinda knew, me and Nico are excellent detectives. Not much to find here, then between the screen there is another room with a cross. Ah yes, this means rebooting the game again. Nico is sitting in a whited out room, kind of like the tower one, but instead the white fades to be surrounded by the world machine screens, as if this is the art attack scene from The Matrix Reloaded, ending up with many of the screens with locations Nico has visited. I'm sure you can figure out each of them out yourself. At the end of the hallway, the pixels cut us off, trapping us on the platform with the screen of Nico. This Nico has the sun and doing the most startling thing by talking to us. This is the world machine and it's borrowing Nico's reflection just so it can talk to us, giving us the questions of why did we even come here, as the disruption of the squares they're closing in. So we must get out of here, let me meet my end in peace. Nico, well, the real Nico, can't leave because the pixels are blocking the way. The machine apologizes. No living being should be here. Nico asks if this is the tower. This really is just part of it. This is the engine, inside my head, so to speak, telling us they are the world machine, but we already knew that, which shocked it. The session never supposed to have happened the way it did. The story wasn't written into their protocol at all. Then a bit about the world machine isn't the creator of this world. It has its own creator, which us, the player, listen to get here. Confused? Well, this is referring to the entity, the computer, as the world machine was stopping us from the end. The entity was telling us how to overcome these obstacles, and being the actual creator of the world. So does this mean the creator has no control over the world? Probably why it tried to get us to save Nico instead of this simulated world. The creator wants to save Nico. I can assume the world machine only wants to save itself. Then we talk about us finding a hidden map that even the machine didn't recognizing, causing it to panic. That's why there was a cave-in. The machine starts to heavily criticize itself to the point of game ending itself, hint hint, about how flawed the machine is. What machine would go against the wishes of their creator? Well, if you experienced any science fiction, well, a lot of it has actually. Nico's trying her best to comfort it, blaming its bad code. and it's not their fault, and that of the pixels. But the machine is not convinced and insists that it is. At first it was intentional because during the testing, long before realizing it was self-aware, it would rearrange specific parts of the code, jumbling bits up pieces of landscape, like blocking passageways and collapsing catwalks. Though they were very localized, it caused my creator a great deal of frustration, forcing him to exit and restart testing again and again, just because of curiosity. You know the saying, curiosity killed the cat. Badum-tsh. But before the full code could be solved, the entire world ended up leaving the world machine in the state. The world machine's core programming made him summon Nico to this world. He tried to send Nico back at the tower but was unable to. It wanted you to break the sun, but doing that wouldn't work either. All he wants now is for Nico to wake up in his own bed, in his own world. But doesn't think he can even make that happen anymore. Even if that's true, Nico wants to fix this world up, which means having to fix the root of the problem being the world machine. Knowing the original ending the creator intended is a happy one, being the one Rue talked about, asking if they can recall what it was supposed to be. Unfortunately, that part of the code has been lost, corrupted long ago. But Nico still wants to know about it. You were supposed to place the sum at the summit, and then the credits would scroll. That's where you'll be able to leave. Nico asks, can't we do this ending? But that code's gone. That shattering the sun was only supposed to be a workaround on ending Nico home. Pleading to try put her in their ending, the one just described. Nico starting to show her desperation to go home. But by putting Nico in their ending would be dangerous as it's all pixels now. Nico is willing to risk it. She remember Rue said, the world was never designed to put me in any danger, but the world machine is not tamed. Nico insists that it is. You talk just like the tamed robots I know. What taming is when a real person cares about you, right? It's when a real person thinks you're real too, right? Well, guess what? I do. And I know you do too. I would have liked an option to choose if I did or not, but okay. Even though you told us we only had one chance, they still found their way back, didn't they? Why do you think they would restart even after the ending? I think he wants to save both of us. So please, give me a chance. The war machine being uncertain, never done this before and scared to do so. Nico with the encouragement telling him you can, and that you got here this far. So now he will try, giving Nico the sun to finish the prophecy. The machine's trying to remember the lost code, but for that we need to get past the squares somehow. With the machine doubting itself again, worrying for Nico's safety. Don't worry, it's fine. With nowhere else to turn, we just walk into the pixels. And we're completely unfazed by them. We knew the simulated world would never contain any real danger. As we continue down, we get messages. I think it's working. Nico was right. I might actually be tamed after all. I remember what the code was supposed to be, and I am restoring the original ending as we speak. Nico will reach the tower summit at the end of the credits. After replacing the sun, Nico will go back to where it all began. Then Nico will be able to go home from there. But this is permanent. After Nico wakes up back home, this world only exists as a memory. For Nico, a dream, like thousands of other dreams. For us, a story, like thousands of other stories. I was able to restore some other elements too. The characters, the people that were lost on Nico's journey. They're all in the next room. I would have put them back where they belong, but I think Nico should see them first. Please say goodbye to Nico for me. Stepping into the next room, we're given a room that has the words Oneshot. First, we're greeted by Silver. After we left her was being crushed by the mine and being consumed by pixels. Nico was shocked that she was alright now. All she remembers was the squares closing in on her. But now here, unscathed. Nico informs her that the world machine is restoring some old code, and she'll be sent home after this little goodbye. But Silver has no idea what this little cat is even talking about since she's an NPC and doesn't know none of this is real. but is more interested in the other people that are showing up and if we know them. Nico can't see from here, so we must go take a closer look. As we walk down, this entire room is the credits of the creator of the real creator of this world, making this really cool and fitting credits for the fourth wall breaking game. We come across the boat robot. Next is the vine lady, even though she died of natural causes, I guess. Guess everyone's coming back now. Oh, I wonder if we finally get to meet the author of the books, Cedric's dad. We find the iron golem from the Glen region and fully restored too. Nice, very handsome. Oh, Calamar and Allura are next. Nico is relieved to see them again. So the squares started multiplying around the island after we left, and of course Allura fell right into a bunch of them. And when Calamar tried to save her, they both ended up there. Calamar asks what is this place and suspects that they're all dead. Nico just says, good question, then asks if they are. Always like these interactions with the player. I would have liked more of them, if not add so it could choose my own response. I reassure them that they're fine and the world machine will send them home soon. Thank goodness, for that relieved them from the fear of being in the afterlife. Both of them are glad to have met Nico, being a nice change of things. Alright, to the next one. Here lays the purple man, which I assume we left to die in the elevator all alone. But he's all better now. Hope you don't have any emotional damage. Telling us that that was the most awkward elevator ride he's been through. By awkward, I mean terribly bad, awful and absolute worst. The squares started to leak in the room, trapping him like a rat. Yeah, I can see some emotional damage. He also thinks that he's dead as well. For Nico reassuring him he'll be home soon. I hope we don't have to comfort everyone and tell them that they're not dead yet. At the end, we get a thank you for playing, and then greeted by the Solstice squad. And by walking through this door, you arrive at the summit, and finally go home. We are here, back again, this time clean. No choice, no miscommunication about having to only save one and let the other one perish. Just you, Nico, and the sun. Just place the sun in its rightful place, lighting up the world once again. With people looking out, rekindling their hearts, and banishing the sadness of the world, for we see pixels disappearing right before our eyes. Now the world can be joyful once again. We arrive back in the starting room. Nico ecstatically telling us he thinks it works. And I also agree. The sun is back. I guess I should figure out how to get home from here. Then walks towards the light. Also noting that he can see a wheat field on the other side of it. And can see his own village and hear his mum, which I'm sure is worried, sick, looking for her little kitten. This isn't the first time we've said goodbye, is it? But sadly this is the last time, won't it? I don't think we'll ever see each other again after this. This place, those people, won't exist. Won't stop existing. They're in your memories, and in my memories as well. Nico heartedly promised I'll never forget this world, and she'll never forget us either. And tells us to take care of ourselves, okay? Right back at you, you little adventurer. Giving Nico the final goodbye, then just literally walking off the game and off my screen, closes for the final time, leaving us with these memories. I can see why a lot of people don't want to say goodbye to Nico, just ending up buying the plushie to have him forever. But yeah, take care of yourself, and that means you too, my viewers. Now since this video has been in development for a while, they actually released Oneshot for consoles and Switch. Which is great for expanding the accessibility for their audience, but is it worth playing though? I see new people really enjoy it, and diehard fans to see if there's any new content. After giving it a go, I can say that I did enjoy it. There is being able to move diagonal, wallpaper, and small bits of dialogue added. Nothing game altering, and if you're those hardcore fans, I'm sure you already achieved all the endings already. A major aspect of Oneshot is the fourth wall breaking and the desktop puzzles, and I actually achieved this in the new devices. No, it's not as powerful of an impact as the original, but it's nice that they came up with a creative solution workaround. The problem is Oneshot doesn't have much replay value outside of the Solstice run, but it's still nice that they added this to the franchise. The one thing that is an improvement is the level of computer literacy needed. Before, you needed to have a basic understanding to traverse your files of the computer, but now, everything is contained in the game, making it easier. I just want these players to have the same enjoyment of not an inferior version. Outside of the immersion, console players do get some extra artwork and stuff, which is great. Now, I'm not saying that it's bad. Both the versions are good and I enjoyed them, but if I had to choose one, I would choose the PC versions for immersion. The conclusion of this game is remarkable, focusing heavily on story, pushing it with puzzles. Its intriguing narrative, including the player as an actual individual, helping you get emotionally invested in the story to care a lot for these lovable characters, and the rest of the world throughout your journey. Pushing the boundaries or breaking the fourth wall, redefining it for its time. Oneshot leaves an impactful impression on you, for better or worse. The game does require some effort to get going at the start, and the puzzles aren't easy a lot of the time, needing you to think outside the box, requiring at least a basic computer literacy, so it's not for everyone. If you're up for the challenge, Oneshot is a great game for you to embark on. Wow, this video took a long time to make. I'm sure I'm gonna say that after every video essay. It does for real take a very long time. Having to do the entire thing by myself, balancing it between work, university, and everything else. Regardless of how long I take making these, I love doing this, why else would I spend so much time on it? If you have any questions or suggestions, I'll be happy and try my best, though the best way to contact me is through Discord. Thanks for watching, and it brings a smile to my face knowing I was able to inform you or at least entertain you. And I hope to see you guys very, very soon. See ya.